Coming up next on Hands on Windows, we're going to take another look at Microsoft Copilot because it's advancing so quickly. Microsoft has already added a bunch of new features.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hands on Windows. I'm Paul Thurrott, and this week we're going to take another look at Microsoft Copilot. This is a service, I guess I'll call it. It's changing all the time. It's improving rapidly. We are going to be talking about it repeatedly throughout this year. There's no doubt about it. From a basic standpoint, Copilot is this set of foundational generative AI services based on technologies that OpenAI created for ChatGPT and provided to you by Microsoft, meaning they sprinkle their own kind of magic fairy dust on top of there via Bing and some of the other proprietary things that they have. Copilot is everywhere now. It's the foundation of Microsoft Bing Chat on the web, Microsoft Designer Image Creator, which used to be Bing Image Creator, also on the web. If you go to Microsoft Edge as a web browser, there is a sidebar that has Copilot in it, like this, right? And also the designer feature. So basically everything you could do just out on the web, you can do directly inside of Edge as well. There is, of course, the Copilot in Windows 11. We talked about that recently in an episode. We're going to be talking about it again in the future. This thing it's interesting because there's some unique functionality here related to Windows that isn't all that interesting, but it is unique. And then there are features that you sort of see appear across Copilot, wherever it may be, including those plugins we looked at before. But there's some new functionality we're going to look at today that's not yet available in the sidebar. I believe it will be soon. So that's happening. There are also paid tiers of Copilot, right? So anyone can use Copilot for free in all the different places that it is, or I should say most of the different places. If you pay for something called Microsoft Copilot Pro, which is $20 per month, you gain access to additional functionality. We'll look at a little bit of that. And if you're a corporate customer, you can pay, it's actually $30 per user per month to get Copilot in Microsoft 365. But even as an individual, I could go to office.com because I do pay for Copilot Pro. I could, and what I'm about to show you is identical to what you would get with Copilot in Microsoft 365, is you bring up an app like Word. And let me just zoom in so you can actually see what I'm going to type here. And you can see this Copilot item here in the ribbon. And when you bring this up, it offers to help you. Now, if this document was full of text, which it's not, you could ask it questions about it. You could have it summarize the document. But you could also just have it help you, right? Say, I need to write a resume that explains my work experiences or whatever. You can actually have it, you can prompt it to help you write something new as well, right? So if you're familiar with how Copilot works in other ways with kind of text-based generative AI, this does the same thing, but to something very specific. So it's giving you some kind of action items here. You can ask it questions and continue the conversation. Not that I would want this as part of a resume, but you could just copy and paste and put it right into the document, right? So this is a very simple example of the type of thing you might do with Copilot for Microsoft 365, or in my case, Copilot Pro using the Microsoft 365 apps. We're going to look at this in more detail in a future episode, but I just kind of wanted to throw this out as one of the more interesting and unique ways that Copilot is expanding to these different experiences, right? Okay, but let's look at some of the stuff that is new to Copilot since the last time we talked about it. And we technically haven't talked about Copilot on the web too much. We have focused a lot on what Copilot looks like in Windows 11. But I'm going to the web for this because there's been some changes that have happened recently. So I will go to the Copilot website. that are only available in the web version of Copilot that I think are very interesting. So, like I said, these changes will spread their way across, everywhere that Copilot is available. I do expect it to come to Copilot in Windows 11. I think it was just an episode or two ago we talked about some of the changes that have happened recently there, and it integrates with, if you're paying for Copilot in any way, it will integrate wherever you are. So I've signed in here on the web with the same account that I use everywhere else because I'm using it to pay for Copilot, right? You can't really see this change right here, but Microsoft recently upgraded Copilot on the web, and I want to say also in Windows, to go from GPT-4 to GPT-4 Turbo, which should sound like gibberish to you, if you don't know what that means. There is a lot of language around AI and around Copilot specifically that I think a lot of people find confusing. I described Copilot before, I think, as a set of foundational generative AI services. That's one way to put it. What it really is a GPT. And a GPT is a generative, see if I can get this right, pre-trained transformer, which is a horribly technical term. It's an LLM, a large language model, that provides a chat interface. Because of that, sometimes people just call it a chatbot, right? So when Microsoft first announced this feature, which back then was called Bing Chat, had chat in the name, it was associated with Bing, that's where it was available. And the idea was that you have conversations with it. Text-based conversations, right? That's the typical interface. It still is, right? So when you think about GPTs, Copilot itself is a GPT. It's a chat bot. It is a set of AI, generative AI services, like I said, but there's all these different languages. Microsoft never announced this formally, which I think is kind of crazy, but recently they announced 4 custom GPTs, or what you might call 4 custom chatbots that distill down the information that Copilot can work off of to a smaller subset. And these things are dedicated to specific tasks. So you can see them up here. So we've got this language, right? Copilot GPTs. There's Copilot itself, which is the main one. This is the interface we've had, since the beginning. And then they have these 4 others. Designer is also one we've had for a while now. This is what used to be Bing Image Designer. Now, Bing Image Creator. Now it's Designer Image Creator. So if we go into here, we could say, create me, or create a, I can't type, but create a photo of a man standing alone on a hill in a forest. That'll do it. Doesn't really matter. But I use this capability a lot to create graphics for my website. I will tell you now that this thing it creates will not look like a photo, but it will be somewhere between a cartoon and a Pixar type graphic, if you will. You always get 4 choices. This animation is new to just the other day, but it changes a lot. They're still working on the user experience here a lot. And for some reason, these pictures are all black and white, but that's cool. It's fine. And you get these kind of neat images that you can look at, and you can edit them from here. Let's make it a different type of image. So it's going to recreate the same image, but in a watercolor, right? You can also bring this thing out to Designer, and you can edit it further. You can download it, obviously, and then edit it locally. So it's still black and white, but it's now it's a watercolor style. That's cool. That's fine. Good to go. Let's do a new topic here. So vacation planning. I always do the same thing here. And I was testing this earlier today. We'll tell you this thing was all over the map, and this is also an example of a GPT that's really wordy. I'm asking it for something very specific, and it starts asking me questions, and it's like, I just give me the thing that I asked for. So give me a 5-day itinerary for Mexico City, which is a place that I know very well. So I know how to rate this as a response. And yeah, sure enough, it's asking me questions, right? So can you please let me know the planned date, arrival date for the trip? This is actually a nonsensical question by and large for Mexico City because there are no weather-related concerns there. It's not like if you went in the winter, you might do different things. The temperature in Mexico City varies by 5 to 10 degrees all year long. So possibly this might have something to do with maybe festivals or events like their Independence Day in September or whatever. But I don't want it to ask me these questions, right? So just give me the itinerary. Because if you start answering questions, it will never stop asking you questions. It's very strange like that. Or give me, I didn't type it right, but just give me the itinerary. Let's see if it can figure it out. Here we go. 5 days. Good. So, because otherwise it would have said, how long are you going to be there? I just told you I want a 5-day itinerary. All right. So we get the itinerary and we'll see how they did this time. And it's always a little different. This one actually has a morning, afternoon, evening. That's not what I saw earlier today. Zocalo, Cathedral, and National Palace are all in the same place. Smart. Go to the afternoon, and the afternoon go to the Templo Mayor, also in the same place. Good. Local Mexican cuisine, fine, right? But as you go through this list, it's interesting. You'll see things that are kind of all over the place. Bellas Artes and Alameda Central are in the same place. Actually, I don't even know where this one is. That's interesting. So earlier today, they were telling me to go down to Coyoacan or go out to the pyramids that are way out of town. And that's one of the weird ways that these things can kind of screw up. So this one actually looks pretty good. Coyoacan stuff is all together. Chapultepec, that's all in the same area. It's good. So actually with this one, they did a nice job. I guess I cut it off a little bit and not horrible, right? So it's kind of a neat way to do that. Cooking assistant. This one's basic, right? So give me a recipe. And I'll stick to the Mexico theme, I guess. Puerco pibil is a slow-cooked pork recipe, traditional from the Yucatan Peninsula. And in Mexico, it's annatto seeds, color it red, and it's fantastic. And yeah, so pretty basic. I am looking for pork butt. There it is, 5 pounds. Yeah, okay. So the ingredients are always in different orders. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, this looks about right. I would say marinate this for at least half a day, not for 30 minutes, but that's fine. That's good. And they actually use banana leaves because a lot of people don't have banana leaves. It's something you can get in kind of ethnic supermarkets and so forth. But if you don't have that, you can use aluminum foil. That works fine. So it looks good. And yeah, okay. I mean, it's not bad. So that's, and actually this picture here is exactly what that looks like. So same thing, fitness trainer, you kind of get the idea. So, I think we're going to see a lot more of these custom GPTs. In fact, I think eventually you'll be able to customize this UI because I think there are going to be too many of them where you can just say, look, these are my top 3 or 4 that I like, that I use a lot. A custom GPT should hopefully be faster and more accurate, right, than going against the entire body of work that's out here. They also added, and this one they did announce, was the ability to make a custom GPT of your own. And I was really excited about this because I can think of all kinds of ways that I would like to use custom GPTs. But from a work sense, I think about the content that I've created. I've got my own website. I have my document archives in OneDrive and elsewhere. I would like it to look at these things and then be able to ask it questions and have it only look at my website. And I can tell you right now that does not work. I do think it's coming because Microsoft has a tool for developers that allows you to do that type of thing. But I created this thing called Thurrott GPT, of course. And if I were to ask this a question related to our industry, because I asked, so I like that it was made by me, so you can expect surprises and mistakes, like it's my fault. So I could say something like, what's going on with Epic and Apple, right? Because these guys are involved in this giant legal battle, and I've written a lot about that. And I told it, only used content from my site. And I can tell you right now, it's using content from Ars Technica, NBC News, Apple Insider. It's like, none of these are my site, right? So, okay. And look, this is good, bad, or indifferent, but I wanted this to be from my site, and that's not the way that thing works. So I could say, just give me information from Thurrott.com. And if this works the way it did before, what it should do is now go and search my site for Epic and Apple and see what it comes up with, right? So split decision, the court declines to hear the appeal, EU scrutiny. That's a partial story, but of course that's the problem with ChatGPT and thus Copilot. It's not completely up to date. So when Microsoft moved from GPT-4 to GPT-4 Turbo, it came up to date through 2023, but a lot of stuff has happened in this case here in 2024, and we're not seeing it. But what we are seeing here is what I wanted, right? This is a bunch of content that was taken only from my site, not from those other sites. And I just can't figure out how to make it do what I want. But if you go into here, what you can see is this new interface where this is where I created it. And I'm just going to go into this so we can kind of see what that looks like, right? Because there's basically two tabs. When you first go through this, it asks you a bunch of questions, and then it creates this bulleted list of what it is you're trying to do, right? The bulleted list is in this second thing. This is a little hard to see, unfortunately, but provide information and answer questions about personal technology topics using only the content available at Thurrott.com, which we saw it does not do. Should not use any other sources of information. I really tried to force the issue there. A lot of these things are just based on the question it asked me. It's just not something I thought of. It asked me, for example, what the tone should be like. And I said the tone could be formal or informal, depending on the topic, right? Something like a legal battle between two companies. You might want that to be formal. I don't want discussions of politics. Let's not get off on the side. It's just, we're talking just about personal technology, et cetera, et cetera. I was kind of hoping if I turned off this web browsing capability, it would not browse the web and it would just go to my site, but that actually turns off its ability to go to my site. And you can't upload files. I looked this up in their, they don't have much in way of a user guide, but in their documentation, and what it told me was that I could upload files that represented the content on my website, which I have 18,000 articles so far, Thurrott.com since 2015. That doesn't seem possible. So right now, I just don't have a way to do what I want. But still, this is a very interesting capability. And if you keep it to a finite group set of information, I think this could be really valuable. Recipes are a great example, right? Don't search the entire web for this information. Just search recipe websites or search for things that are recipes. Kind of cut down on the noise and potentially the inaccuracies that might happen. Not that there couldn't be mistakes in recipes, of course, some of which could be horrible, or mistakes in, fitness advice or health advice. You got to be careful there as well. But again, some really interesting possibilities. So those two things that I just showed, the custom GPTs that Microsoft created and the ability to create custom GPTs, are only available today as we record this at copilot.microsoft.com, at a Microsoft website, basically. But like I said, I expect to see these things come to all of the other places where we access Copilot, which includes in Windows, and possibly in Microsoft 365, although I suppose for that type of application, you're going to be doing things that are specific maybe to your workplace or to whatever application you happen to be using. There are additional capabilities coming. This Copilot capability is coming to OneDrive, for example, which is that thing I'm looking for, which is not just the public data, but also kind of it's not really private in the sense that it's anything I don't want people to see, but, the notes or the original writing that I made when I was working on these documents or the books that I wrote or whatever, it'd be kind of neat to have a GPT that could search all of that and only provide me answers based on the stuff that I've written. And potentially do things like what have I written about Windows 11? Summarize that. What are the top 20 points about Windows 11 across the books, the podcast, the site, everything that I've done, I think would be really exciting. So like I said, I think we're going to be talking a lot more about Copilot in the future. In fact, I know we are. As things evolve in Windows, I think on Microsoft 365 as well. And like we did here today on the web. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this helpful and useful. We have new episodes of Hands on Windows every Thursday. So we'll be back again in a week. You can find out more at twit.tv/HOW. Thank you so much. And thank you especially to Club Twit members. Really appreciate you so much. I'll see you next week.